Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Model Talk Tuesdays. We are starting our fall semester, and I have an amazing guest for us today. I have actually a personal relationship with her. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Model Talk Tuesdays. We are starting our fall semester, and I have an amazing guest for us today. I have actually it's been a second because we are starting our fall semester and I forgot to mute YouTube, but we are good now. So welcome to another edition of Model Talk Tuesdays. I have the amazing tinafears here as our guest. Students, you are going to learn so much. This lady is driven, excellent work ethic. She is a dancer, model, actress, and I forgot to add one more thing, a singer. So we're going to learn all about these various facets of Tina. So Tina, welcome to Model Talk Tuesdays.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I remember when you were getting the Academy off the ground and some of the in-person events we did many years ago. So I'm so proud of how you've been able to grow the Academy, and I'm excited to share with your students today.
Awesome. So you all, I don't want to jump ahead because I like to build up to kind of what she's doing now. But I was tuning in, you all, to the Aretha Genius series, had no idea that Tina was playing the role of Clara Ward. And I loved the lady that was playing the role. And then it hit me, hold on, this is Tina. So Tina, I have to start with that because I really want to give you your accolades on that. You did so amazing in that role. And you know, with everything going on with Aretha, the movie out with Jennifer Hudson, and then the Genius Aretha, could you tell us how did that come about? And then we're going to go backwards if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I am very faith forward. You know that about me. So now looking back at it, I know that was just God's hand over my life, and everything that I did prior to really just prepared me. I think Denzel Washington always says, it's like when opportunity meets preparation, like that's when those big things happen. So ultimately I auditioned, you know, just like all of us do, like your models do or will be doing. I received the breakdown from my agent. I have agents here in the Southeast that represent me. And then I also have some representation on the West Coast. And then I also pitch myself for things too. And I got the breakdown, and it was just one of those things where when I read the breakdown, the description, so you guys know a breakdown is just a brief kind of like 2 or 3 lines that tells you about the person, who they are, typically their age range, and you know, the person's name. Now, I am very familiar with the gospel community, so I knew a little bit about Clara Ward, but whenever I am presented with an opportunity to play a historical figure or someone who lived in real life, I always do the research. And honestly, Pearl, when I read it, in my heart of hearts, I just felt like this was going to be my part. Wow. But in our industry, you get so much rejection. My goodness. I mean, you literally hear more no's than you do yeses, but I auditioned for it, and there was Clara's lines, and then there were lines for C.L. Franklin, who we all know, Courtney B. Vance portrayed C.L., who was Angela Bassett's husband, and then Little Aretha, who Cheyenne Jordan played. So I actually had my husband and my son read for them with me, which is something that I normally wouldn't do. But this was literally like at the end of the year in 2019. And I was just like, I'm just going for it. I'm shooting my shot. I'm going to be creative. I'm going to be as creative as I want to be in my interpretation of this role. And so I did all of those things. I turned my stuff in, and then the next day my agent told me, hey, they want this person to sing. Now in my mind, I'm like, yeah, the person needs to be able to sing is Clara Ward. But once we shot, I realized that there were only a few of us, myself, Cynthia Erivo, the ladies that played her sisters were singing. All of us actually sang on the series, but a lot of the other actors were not singing. Wow. So I sent in a tape that was actually for, I'm giving all your students the real tea. I had auditioned for a Tyler Perry project, and it was my audition from that I didn't get, which was like 3 weeks before this audition. And me knowing when they ask for something, you just have to turn around very quickly. You can't drag and vacillate. I wanted to be prompt. So I actually turned in an audition of me singing from a job I didn't get, which
Wow.
ultimately helped me get the job that I did get. And so that was in December, and that was like early December 19. And we waited and we waited and we waited. And I've never waited so long. I was just like, man, I guess I just didn't get the part. And then I got a message the new year. We're now in 2020, almost before the pandemic started, that told me that I was pinned first, which we know is not a hold. It just means you're being considered. They like you. And then about 2 days later, I got told that I booked it. I had fittings the next day. And then I was like shooting next week.
Let me just take all of that in. Let me just take all of that in, because I just love, I love just kind of hearing the breakthrough and getting through to the other side. So since this is a live format, I see you, Yvonne Smith Beauty. Hey, how you doing? Want to make sure that I engage with the people.
Yes.
And Tina, you will not be able to see them, but I will keep you in the loop of any questions that are coming in. All right, so I do want to play a clip, you all. Now, this is technology. Hopefully technology is going to be on my side. Let me see if I can work this out. Oh, nope, it's not. So you all, there is a clip that is on our page of Tina doing her thing. So let me see if I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see the screen share.
Okay, now you see it. Okay, awesome. So let's see if I can do this, because what I want to do is share this. How are we looking on here? Is that clip showing? Let's see. I'm gonna try this one more time. Here we go. All right, you all. So as I was watching this, I could feel the vibrations of Tina's energy. That's why I was like, who is this playing this role? And then I said, wait a minute, it's Tina. So let me just play this clip for you all, students, so that you can see Tina killing it. Yeah.
Ward. Oh, thank you, baby. You sang beautifully too.
Amazing, awesome. So Tina, there were some words that you were singing in that
at Verizon.
In that moment. Oh goodness, I need to get this together. There were some words that you were singing in that moment. How I got over. And I felt those words. What were you thinking of when you were singing that song, and what was the energy on set in that moment?
The energy was really through the roof. It had to be, in order, and that means we did our jobs if it resonated with the audience. Just a little kind of like another inside little tidbit. So everything I did was pre-recorded. So though it looks like I'm singing live, which technically Tina is singing live, but we pre-recorded all that stuff in the studio. So whenever I am doing any type of playback, I always sing along to myself so that you can like see the veins sticking out of my neck, and you can feel my emotion physically interpreting what it is that I'm singing. But the energy in the room was charged, because if you think about the scene, it was a tent revival. C.L. Franklin, it was a very well-respected orator and preacher who literally would travel and do tours, almost like we think of if you think like a Kirk Franklin meets a T.D. Jakes, just the charisma of that and the ability to have people come with, later in that scene, you see they couldn't pay him with money, but they were paying with pies and fruit. They were just so ecstatic and so filled by that. So we had to make sure that when my director, Nima, said action, I couldn't work my way up to that. I had to go in as if the service had already been going, the people had already been up, giving God praise and all of that. And so Mr. Courtney would kind of help get the extras going. we would start clapping our hands and just like we would in church. So once we got charged enough, they would yell action. And it was literally like, I know you tell your girls like how it's total body wellness, how you have to be fit. You have to be physically fit, mentally fit, emotionally fit, because you literally are shooting, a medium shot, a wide shot, a close up. There was a camera that was going around me on a steady cam on the VP's body. I literally probably shot that scene maybe 40 or 50 times all the way through. So then there's the emotion before, they're shooting it and getting all the different shots. Then there's times when they're telling me, sing along, do your thing. The camera is going to come back to you on a certain word. So you have to be thinking about all of that as well. But the energy there, ironically, was very much rooted in some of my own experiences. I was kind of transitioning out of things. So it helped me pull and be able to really deliver and be authentic as best as I could and just honor Clara Ward. I didn't want to be somebody that was pretending to be somebody. Like, I wanted to do the research. She was a very charismatic woman, a sharp dresser. You saw the hat and the curls and the dressing and all of that. And so I wanted to honor her. So it was a little bit of Tina's own experiences and story, but it was also mixed in and making sure you got to do Miss Clara justice, because we saw in the series that Aretha later covered how I got over as an adult woman. Once she did her gospel album. So it was a big moment for little Aretha, because that's when she kind of picked up her stage presence and how she was learning and watching this woman be excellent and be beautiful and be powerful and be genuine. That is why that was such a special moment, because she had to glean from her in the midst of her circumstances. This is what I aspire to be like when my moment comes.
You getting me emotional, Tina? Because mentors are such a big, you get what I'm saying, that connection between Aretha and Clara, and for you to point that out. Mm-hmm. But let me reel it back in. Okay. So as I was reading your bio, I saw that you had produced Queen, Aretha at Aurora. So I was wondering, was there a connection? Did that prepare you in some way? Mm-hmm. And tell me, what was the inspiration behind that? Why did you work on that project, do that project?
Yeah, so Aurora Theater is a theater here in Lawrenceville. That's where I live. And that is where I started doing professional theater here. I was in Memphis, the musical, which was a show that was on Broadway. So I did it regionally there. In the Heights, that movie just came out, this past summer. I performed regionally in Atlanta there. So I had still have a relationship with that theater. And so when Aretha actually passed, a few colleagues of mine got together and said, let's do a tribute concert. This is just Tina being, having that spontaneity, being a businesswoman, but also being an artist and wanting to pay tribute to her. Let's also put a pin in, this was also during a time where Black artists were not being seen in the Atlanta theater community. That's why there were 25 of us that weren't working, because we were able to come together and do this Aretha show. So it was really a tribute that happened really shortly after Aretha passed. And we got a few of my very close colleagues. Ironically, everybody who helped me produce that show has gone on to do television. So Brian Jordan Jr. was a partner of mine on that. He's on Tyler Perry's Sisters. Christian Magby he was our music director. He was in One Night in Miami. India Tyree, she also did vocal arrangements. She's a very good friend of mine. We just saw her on All the Queen's Men. And, so it's really ironic because all of us have gone on to kind of turn that page and start to make an impact in that next space. So it was really a tribute concert. And it was really, I told you, I'm very faith forward. So it really feels like it was divine that I was going to be connected to telling her story in a theater space in Atlanta, which was a sold out event. We had no idea. We really self-produced it. People who performed volunteered. I made the costumes. Everybody that I just named either directed, music directed, arranged. So it was really just artists who love her work. And we also wanted to create opportunity for other artists in the city to be seen, because we weren't, which kind of led us to the racial reckoning that happened in 2020 and all that good stuff, just some of the activism things. But I didn't know that was going to happen. And then Pearl, I'm gonna give you another nugget too, because I know you mentioned the movie. I also auditioned for the movie.
Okay.
I auditioned for Respect, with Jennifer Hudson. And went in, they invited me in, I sang. That role was for, I think was one of I haven't seen Respect. So the role was for one of the girls that sang with her. I don't know what they're
one of the background, the sisters.
Yes,
She had three sisters.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so had a great audition, didn't get called for it. And literally a week later, I got the invite to audition for Genius. So again, this whole Aretha story for me, it was just never ending. You know, I didn't know. I can look back at it now and say, okay, Lord, I know why it was Genius and not Respect, you know, and I'm okay with that. Yeah. So that was kind of how Queen Aretha at Aurora. It was ultimately just a tribute concert that we did. And ultimately, you know, the rest is kind of history as it pertains to me and telling Aretha's story.
All right. So some of the plays that Tina was mentioning, I see like Memphis, the musical, Tom Key and Friends, A Little Princess, also Dream Girls, you played Michelle. Mm-hmm. So how did this all start? First of all, where are you from? Mm-hmm. And when did you discover that you wanted to be in the arts?
Mm-hmm. So I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. I'm a Cali girl with sweet tea in my veins is what I tell people, because I've lived here so long that Atlanta is really home. But I feel like I will always have the essence of being someone from LA. But I come from a musical family, Pearl. You know, my dad was a songwriter. He was able to get placements with like the Jacksons. He got a placement on their Victory album, which was like the last album that all the Jacksons did together. He wrote a song with Tito. I have it on vinyl, like over there in my
Okay.
And then like old school groups like the Commodores and the Whispers, and you know, so I've always been around the arts. I've always been around music. I kind of had for a while had a bittersweet love-hate relationship with music, because, you know, you see your family achieve great success, and then you also see failure, and the impact that has on your life is like, man, I'm doing anything but that. Though I love it, though I sing every day, it's in me, whether I want it to be in me. I don't want the struggle, the starving artist component that comes with that. So, but through it all, you know, even when I was at Clark Atlanta, I wasn't a theater major. I didn't, you know, major in the arts in any way. On another interview I did last week, I was telling them that I actually got into a performing arts high school here in Georgia. It was Avondale at the time, but it's now the DeKalb School of the Arts. And fear is what kept me from going into this program, which technically would have put me more on a Howard track, which would make more sense based on what I do. But I just wanted to be safe. I was like, I just want to pay my bills. I ain't trying to be no starving artist. But when there's something that you've been called to do, that will stir up and it will find you, even if you don't want it.
You can't run from it. You're running from it and it's right there until you turn around and embrace it.
Embrace it. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And so when I found myself embracing it little by little, through high school, you know, more middle school. And then I kind of like, you know, I cheered, I ran track. I sang in the choir a little bit, but I never really tapped in to those things that were really planted in me as a little girl in California, who was, you know, in professional recording studios with like Mariah Carey's producers. My sister and I sung, we were, you know, dancing. We were always around the arts and the creative environment. So my fear, and that's why I'm so adamant about being fearless. I can understand that now as a grown woman. Fear really kept me from being all that God had called me to be. But I really had to, like you just said, accept it and embrace it. And once I began to accept it, embrace it, I began to flourish, you know? And so I started Stage Ready, the business, after leaving Clark Atlanta and going to the Art Institute. But even the business was still centered around the arts. It was still centered around performance and production and all of that good stuff. So it was always in me. I just had to fall back in love with it again and accept it. And like I said, once I accepted it, we've been able to begin to thrive, and we can take failure and not take it. It doesn't break me, you know, like I was so afraid that it would. I just understand there's season and timing, and being very intentional about what I want for myself, the type of career that I want, and the longevity. And I'm okay if a door closes, because I know that that's not a part of my story. And I'm waiting for my story to be written.
You said so many things in that, Tina. Okay. So what would you tell an older person? Because we have our youth, and you were saying that in high school, you know, you were fearful, but, you know, still had some time to get in. What would you tell someone that may be 50 that's still running from that? What would you tell them?
I would tell them that whatever that thing is that wakes you up in the middle of the night, whatever that thing is that when you get up in the morning, you find yourself doing that, whether that's decor, whether that's cooking, whatever it is, there's a reason why that thing keeps showing up in front of you. You know, like there are things that we do. It's like, you know, gardening. Okay. I'm not a gardener like that because real gardeners garden year round. I love to garden when the sun is shining, when it's beautiful, you know, when I can play and put my hat on and all that kind of stuff. So if there is something that you are constantly finding yourself looking at and you feel that tug when you see people on TV doing it, it's like, man, I know I could do that. What if I did? You constantly ask yourself. You know, I had a girlfriend, if she watches this, and we were watching In the Heights, and she was like, I'm ready to start back auditioning for stuff. And I've heard her say that off and on, and she's a very, very good friend. So she's okay with me saying this, but that is tugging at her, you know, even though she's like in work, in her corporate situation, there's something about when you see other people doing what you aspire to do. I am here to tell them to do it. We all know the woman who played the elder in Black Panther, very seasoned woman, you know, but there was a part that wasn't something that a 30 or 40 or even a 50-year-old, they needed somebody that was 70 plus to deliver that and deliver it in a way that was authentic and it added value to the story, that when they were in the king's court, you had this elder speaking and everybody had to be quiet and receive what it was that she was saying. So to those who are seasoned, it is never too late. You know, I've seen people put posts up that show, you know, when people first start, I think if you like in the acting space, I mean, if you think about people like Viola Davis and Octavia Spencer, if you think about them, those weren't women that we saw as teen actors. We didn't necessarily see them in their early 20s. You know, these are people who arrived to us into their 40s. And, you know, we're just now really seeing them in the past, maybe 10, 15 years. They did things, but to have that presence where they are world renowned. I mean, Viola's on the cover in style in my office. This is what? Yeah, this was December 2020. So she is very transparent about what her journey looked like, and also having had a theater background. And, you know, Viola is somebody who goes back and forth between television and theater, constantly learning, constantly honing on that craft. So just an inspirational nugget. And I know we hear it so much. Don't give up, do it. But shoot your shot, bet on yourself, you know, bet on yourself and bet on yourself in small spaces so you can work yourself up to where it is that you may desire to be. Because if you just jump straight out there, you may not be equipped. Like I wasn't equipped as a young woman to take the rejection that I get every day when I tape against this wall, you know, when we don't hear back on things. I wasn't equipped for that. But now I have the tools and I know how to deal with that. I have a better understanding. I know what it means to win the room. You know, when a casting director keeps calling you back for different projects, but you don't book, that means you've won the room. That means they like you. That just means they're waiting for the right thing at the right time. And a lot of times it's not even you. It's who you have to be opposite of, you know, and their height and what they look like and what they sound like. So I am just big on, my grandmother always talks about reinventing yourself and being open to that evolution of reinventing yourself and being okay with figuring out what that looks like. You know, let me try it. You know, I want to be a chef. Well, let me go take a cooking class. You know, let me host a brunch for some friends and see how people respond to my cooking. You know, let's see what that looks like. That's that reinvention and being open to evolving and just trying things. So I hope that's helpful to somebody.
Yeah, no, that I'm sure it is. Okay, so we talked about you being from a musical family, that was training, you performing at your local theater and doing many plays, that was training. For those that are getting into the arts, what would you recommend in terms of training? And I know that it can come in various forms.
Right.
Investing in yourself, is that important to grow? Investing in your craft. Could you talk about the training that you underwent, even with coming from a musical family? Yeah, that's what I'd like to know.
Yeah. So the training for me was, because I didn't go to performing arts high school. And then once I got in college, I was, you know, really going to school to be an educator. So for me, I cut my teeth, which we know that's kind of a term where you know, shed and break in doing professional theater. So luckily I had the God-given talent that if they just gave me a shot, I was able to perform at a professional level and get hired. but there was a season where I literally was every 9 to 12 weeks, I was doing a show. And that was getting me used to learning music, you know, having 1 week to learn all my music for the show, having, you know, choreography week, which really was never a week. It was like 2 or 3 days to learn all the choreography for the show. So there are a lot of casting directors. Raven Drummer cast for Tyler Perry, and she's big on encouraging actors to do community theater. And that is even that level before you get to professional theater. So community theater is some of the stuff that they do at Porter Stanford. Now there could be challenges with our people and doing mom and pop stuff. But when there are opportunities for you to go in and train and learn, do that. So that was for me. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, oh, I went and studied with Miss Allen. I've auditioned for Debbie Allen, but I didn't train at the Debbie Allen Dance Academy. So theater was really where I cut my teeth. But then I've gone in now that I'm really focusing on television and film. Like I study a lot of the stuff that Christine Horn does. She's a very popular Atlanta actor. She is one of my favorites because I feel like the investment in Christine's classes and then the access that you get to that material later. So it's not like you're taking her class and then that's it. You have lifetime access to it. And she's constantly posting gems on her Facebook page, her Instagram page. She posted one the other day about crying on cue, you know, so it's figuring out what your lane is and then investing in yourself and figuring out how can I supplement. And this, I'm really just being totally transparent. What can I do on my own to make up for what I didn't get by going to Tisch or going to NYU or whatever? Because see, the other thing I have that a lot of people who maybe just went the traditional route is I got something that God gave me as a little bitty girl, you know? And so it's like, let me take that and build on it by supplementing with, okay, go cut your teeth doing musical theater, go and be in the ensemble. Pearl, I was in the ensemble for several shows before I booked a principal role. So when I did Simply Simone, I don't think that's on the resume that you have, I was able to tell the story of Nina Simone. It was myself and 3 other actors. And we played Nina in 4 different phases of her life. And we were on stage the entire show. So had I not done ensemble work in Memphis, had I not done, you know, ensemble work in the Heights, you know, I wouldn't have been able to carry a show with 3 other women for basically 2 hours in front of an audience. We never really left the stage. Wow. So it's finding those moments where you can go on YouTube, you know, and listen to, I'll tell you something else that I like. This might be a little bit more for adults, but I don't know the range of all your girls. Kevin Hart has a series called Heart to Heart on Peacock.
Yes.
As much of a comedian as Kevin Hart is, there are really some gems because he has like John Travolta, Don Cheadle, Nick Cannon, all of these people who have been Taraji P. Henson, extremely successful, but we're seeing them in a very vulnerable place because they're telling you their stories of failure and of success. And the beautiful thing about it is, in the world we live in, everything is so microwave, it's so fast. It's like you see somebody on TV and you just think they just went from 0 to 100, but they are telling you about their failures and they're telling you about your wins. And to me, that's training. And those are tools there too, because these are people who I aspire to be like a Taraji. You know, I aspire to have shows on multiple networks. So I think it's just making sure that we understand that we're in an age now where there's so much access. There is no excuse. There would have been no excuse for me to come in and not understand the charisma of Clara Ward. Not in 2020, booking a job in 2020. I got two computers in front of me, one here and a laptop and a phone, you know? And so by training, I think we can take back a lot of what we might be afraid that we don't necessarily have the tools and what's not enough. Because if we take it upon ourselves to invest in ourselves and do that work, we can come to the table just like we were trained, you know, classically trained or trained by some of the greats that we respect in our industry.
Wonderful. You all that are tuning in, we're with the amazing tinafears, dancer, singer, actor, motivational speaker. I'm putting it on the list. So we were talking about learning from your failures, being vulnerable. So if you wouldn't mind sharing, what has been some of your challenges in the industry and what has been some of the most rewarding things in the industry for you? I
think the challenges are always to just break in, right? so we have Genius under our belt. I've done a lot of commercial work. You were on set for one of the commercials that I shot. Yeah. But breaking into television and film, it's a challenge. It's a challenge because we're one in the Southeast, and for your students, Southeast is considered a secondary market. So that means that if ABC is coming out with the show, even if the show is filming here in Atlanta, they're going to use LA as the priority, right? That's going to be their first preference, meaning they're going to reach out to those Los Angeles casting directors first, right? Because they have all of the experienced people who are on TV. That's where everybody lives. And so then the opportunities, then sometimes 30 days later, or 45 days later, then they come to the Southeast. Then we see them on our breakdowns. And so that's why a lot of times when we see deadline articles, a lot of the major roles have already been cast. When it comes down here, you're now picking up day players or guest stars or what have you. So honestly, one of the challenges just being to break in and then not just be seen. And there has been a big change in the types of opportunities that have been presented to me since Genius, because I think I've shown, okay, she can hang, she got something to bring to the table. But the biggest challenge, and I think that's with any actor, is really being able to break in and be able to go from having to pitch yourself to being someone that people are requesting. And that's something that I'm still working towards. And it's just a part of the journey. So that is a challenge. That's a challenge every day. The space, my office space I'm in now is also where I have my taping studio. So this room gets all the energy. This room gets the inspiration. This room gets, sides and sticky notes. And then it also is a place where I sit at my computer. And sometimes I know if I'm not getting anything back, then that means it didn't happen. So that's in full transparency. That is a challenge in itself. Most rewarding moment, though, I will say, as a whole, is just doing work that my family can be proud of. And I think as a Black woman in this industry, with some of the material that's coming out, again, full transparency, with tinafears, you're going to get it. Mm-hmm. It can sometimes be discouraging because you want to work, you want to be busy, you want to be on, I've had so many people, what's your next thing? What's your next thing? And we have had things since Genius, which has been great, but sometimes it can be discouraging because there are some things that for me and my personal brand, there are things that I'm just not willing to do. And so that's when you have to make that clear to your team and say, hey, this is what the tinafears brand looks like. These are the type of projects that we're interested in. This is the stuff that we're going to pass on. And sometimes there's abundance of what we've passed on. There's an abundance of that, in a lot of different spaces. But to be able to come and speak to your leadership academy about a role that was a Black woman who was successful and beautiful and passionate and had a story, I'm proud of that. I'm proud that my son and his friends at school and his principals and his teachers, my grandmother, these people can see this work and they are in turn proud of what we've done. And so those are the most fulfilling things for me. Clara Ward was a big moment, is a big moment, because now that I'm better understanding the industry, I understand that, Tina, you are a Southeast actor who was able to break through various levels and layers. How it happened behind the scenes, I'm not privy to, but I do know how the gist of how it works. And I'm very proud of that, Pearl. That when we did the Ford commercial, somebody emailed me and was like, wow, that's a big part coming out of Atlanta, because those are, again, things that you don't necessarily see from the Southeast. But I'm adamant that the South has something to say. That's kind of cliche. We know that as a cultural statement, but there are a lot of talented people here that just need opportunities. And I was thankful to be able to represent for the South, and say, we here too. We're talented. We good. We can hang, So those are my challenges and also some of the things that I'm most proud of.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I think, all of the things that you're doing are amazing, but I want to talk about this fearless movement that you have. Okay. I saw the video and I was like, okay, so I'm getting better at this technical stuff. I want to show you all the video. So let me
come on with the clip.
Yes, I got to put it in there. So hopefully it is showing because I can see it on my end.
Every journey begins with the pursuit of a destination. The journey one has been called to, It's never an easy path. So each day we fight. We fight for our dreams. We fight for our hopes. And we fight for our tomorrows. Despite our inadequacies and failures, we've decided to press forward. As we are determined to be heard in a room where no one wants to hear us, to be seen where there are blinders on. So we stand, unshaken, unbroken, and without fear. This is the Fearless Movement.
Yes. When I saw this, I said, wait a minute, hold on. Why am I just seeing this? Like, I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I haven't seen, you do stuff and it's like, I hadn't seen it in a while. It got me hype watching. I was like, okay, let's go.
I was doing my research and I'm like, wait, I got to show this video. So I love the way it was produced, Tina. I love the energy behind it. I love the words. So tell me about this movement.
Yeah, the Fearless Movement is just my way of giving back like you're doing with your Leadership Academy. It is just my way to serve the underserved community. And for me personally, I went through kind of a stretch in my late teens, really through about my sophomore year in college, where life was hard for me. Life was hard, and financially, life was a challenge. Emotionally, things were just really rough, which kind of lended itself to why I left Clark Atlanta and then had to go to the Art Institute. And so, unlike a lot of service entities that really focus on smaller children, the Fearless Movement is more so geared towards young women who are almost that, in my opinion, forgotten about group, where they're not getting the Toys for Tots. They're not getting, that attention because people think about little babies. Like even when you think about, I think it's like Wednesday Child or something, you notice that it's hard for older children to be adopted. And so my parents were both kind of dealing with some individual things and some challenges. And with me being a late teen to young adult, it was a really rough time span for me. So the Fearless Movement was designed to serve young women in particular who are often forgotten about, that are dealing with the challenges of their identity. They are trying to figure out their place in this world, and just encouraging them to be fearless in the pursuit of what sets their soul on fire. And that's ultimately a scripture, but it is my life's motto, and it's really come full circle for me, because the times where I wasn't fearless in the pursuit of what was setting my soul on fire, I was suppressing that because I was fearful. I'll honestly say this, scared of what success looked like. What would that look like? Me?
Yes, I know exactly what you're saying. My mentor said, you're scared of success. I was like, scared of success? I want success. Yes. So speak to that a little.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times representation is a word that people throw around a lot. And recently, post being grown, really for me, I've seen more images more prominently of what success looks like for Black women. But there was a type at one point, and Pearl, successful Black women didn't look like, they weren't chocolate like you and I. I got on a wig now, but I got a hair full of natural hair. It wasn't natural hair. It wasn't deeply melanated skin. There was a very specific type. And so when you don't see examples of success that you can relate to, that you can touch, that you can aspire to, I'm going to pick her cover again. When you're not seeing this, it's almost like you're afraid of what that could even look like, and what the steps and what the journey has to look like. And can you absorb all the rejection that the world has told you you're going to have to deal with, because there is nobody like you, And so being afraid of what that would look like for me was hard.
Wow. Thank you for putting that into words. Thank you for putting that into words. Since that space or that visual doesn't exist, that unknown is what you're scared of in terms of stepping into that space. Wow. Well, I have Mommy Got It. She's saying, thank you for these pearls of wisdom, Tina.
Yay.
We have a question from Catherine Turner. She is asking, amazing journey, Tina. Definitely encouraging, it's encouraging. Do you think coming or continuing with the education piece, like the CAP performing of the arts prior to trying out for a role, wait, I'm trying to figure out, do you think continuing with the education piece, like DeKalb Performing Arts, I guess is important in terms of,
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a great question. And that came from Catherine.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that question, Catherine. Absolutely. In a perfect world, let me tell you, my husband is an educator. I am pro all of that if it is available to you, right? I am pro going to the performing arts school, then going into a Howard, an NYU Tisch, going into these UCLA, going into these programs where you can really be cultivated and your tools can be refined and sharpened. I just was somebody who was not privy to those things. And me bailing out of some of that, specifically not going to the performing arts high school, was because my home life was so unstable. I couldn't handle another drastic change. So I just was like, let me just stay where I'm at. I'm scared. So yes, if those opportunities are available, if I can go back and tell my 15-year-old self, we would be going to the performing arts school. We would have gone to Howard. We would have right. But there are some people who don't have access to those things. And so I just take pride in being an example of, just because your circumstances may be limited now, doesn't mean you have to be counted out forever. That just means you're going to just go a different way to get to that win, right? So yes, Catherine, if those things are available, dance classes, I was in dance classes when I was very little. My father was my vocal coach. Like, there were those things that were foundational for me that are things that are really priceless. So yes, if the education piece is there, go get it. But for some people, like Pearl mentioned, the 50-year-old, it might be a little late to try to go back and go to performing arts school and do all of that. But you can do some community theater, and you can audition for plays. True Colors, I'll just do this plug real quick. True Colors, Kenny Leon's True Colors. Kenny Leon just won a Tony as a director for a Soldier's Play on Broadway. He is the founding artistic director of his True Colors Theater here in Southwest Atlanta. They are having open auditions this week for A Raisin, the musical, which is the musical adaptation of A Raisin in the Sun. And they are having open casting for all the roles. You don't have to have gone to performing arts school to audition for that.
Look,
Boom.
Thank you for that, Jim. Boom. Look, you all, we got an audition that we got to go to.
Yeah.
I have to stay more in tune, because when I saw that he won, I was so excited. It's just so beautiful and so wonderful to see one of our own winning.
Yes.
Because I saw him around Atlanta. I saw him work, just working with our community. And it was just so beautiful. I was trying to find a speech. It's probably up now, but they said that he said a speech that was just so.
Oh, yeah. He acknowledged that the indigenous land that the Tony Awards is being held on, that is something that people are now making a priority to acknowledge, that land belonged to the indigenous people. And he also said Shakespeare and all the other writers that we're familiar with are great, but we got to start telling some new stories. We got to start telling the stories. Yeah. And that's a whole nother conversation, because like I mentioned, we had a big racial reckoning here in Atlanta with the Atlanta theater community. So it was so profound. And plus CAU all day long, so. Right. So Atlanta showed love. And to see a Black man take a story that is for us, by us, about us. I didn't even know Cheryl Lee Ralph, that's the original Dina Jones from Dreamgirls. She was a producer for another show on Broadway, Thoughts of a Colored Man. So this is just a time where Broadway, they said this is like the blackest Tonys like we've seen. Like, Leslie Odom was the host, but the Tonys are back. Broadway is back, but people are also saying Broadway is Black, right? So we're seeing us win. We're seeing our stories win. We're seeing our people be able to tell stories that we're proud of, not play stereotypical characters. So yeah, get the education. Definitely get it if it's there for you. Take advantage of it. Eat it all up.
Awesome. You all, we have a few minutes left on this platform. So Kathy went in further saying, meaning should she finish school first before she starts auditioning for roles? Like, so
let me ask her a question and she can comment back to you. Are you speaking from a parent, or are you asking about the child, or is she a mother of someone?
She's a mother of a 9-10-year-old.
Okay, so I have a 10-year-old, and my son is actually auditioning now. He just auditioned for a very big movie, but it just it has fallen into his lap. because the agency saw potential in him. But Micah is not dropping out of regular school to go and try to be an actor. So I would say, Kathy, and that's a great question, continue on the path, because one thing about education in school, you can always eat with your education and your schooling, because this stuff that we do is up and down, and we never want to be starving artists, right? So I'm going to always be anti the starving artist. However, if there are opportunities like the audition that's going on this week for Raisin, and they're casting children, she can still be in school and she'll just be able to go rehearse on the weekend and do her shows and what have you. So yeah, there's some children who are given opportunities to go and do Broadway, and they're in the Lion King, there are children in those shows, but they have a very specific, a curated home life where they have tutors and all of that kind of stuff. So that's something that a family would have to decide. But I'm going to always say, keep them in school, because the pressure of this industry is just so much, as if life is not hard enough. And we don't want our babies to have to deal with adult things like rejection in that way, if they're not ready to do so. So yes, I would say stay in school and then find opportunities that don't conflict with school that can give her that exposure, those professional opportunities and so forth.
Wow. Okay, listen, you all. I got so much. This is my soul sister, because she has touched my soul with all of the information that she has given us. I want to thank the studio audience for tuning in. This will be on YouTube indefinitely until unless YouTube closes. This will be here for you all to see for generations, to get these nuggets from this amazing woman. Tina, thank you for being on our show. But before we go, I want to ask you the last question.
Okay.
And that is, what pearl of wisdom can you leave with us? And you've given us so many pearls. So it's kind of an open-ended question for you to close us out. So what do you feel that would be? Oh, wait a minute, gosh, these are things. Hold on, people are coming in before we end this.
Oh, are they?
Okay. Yeah. So Yvonne
Cool.
Smith Beauty saying, bet on yourself. Yes. Okay. Miss Hall is saying, thank you, Tina and Pearl, for encouraging us to continue to strive, and also teaching us the significance of our stepping stone.
Yeah.
Okay, hard. So Tina, what pearl of wisdom would you leave with us, in addition to all of the pearls of wisdoms that you've given us?
Let me think. I'm not gonna just throw something out there. I think the pearl I'm gonna give is one that I'm gonna also give to myself today, like in how I'm feeling today. And my pearl of wisdom is, your gift, we've heard this before, will make room for you. Your gifting will make room for you. The circumstances, the environment may not be ideal. Things may not happen in a sequential order, or it may not even look like what those around you are experiencing, right? Your journey may be very different from theirs. But what God has called you to, the gift that you were given when you came into this earth, what you are supposed to offer and bring to the world, it will make room for you. You just have to be open. Remember, we talked about Denzel Washington, right? That preparation and that opportunity. You have to be ready, right? If you saying that this is what you want to do, if you want to act, you have to be prepared, because opportunities are so few and far between. And when you know your gift is something that has been given to you, it is not something that education, schooling, it is not something that circumstances, poverty, lack, depression, insecurity, none of that can shut down that gift that's inside you. Because remember, I told you before, that's that thing that's waking you up every morning. That's that thing when you watch, I'm gonna watch Our Kind of People when we get off. When I watch Our Kind of People, I get that tug in my chest that, Tina, those girls look like you. They got natural hair, they chocolate, they're beautiful, they're excellent. That's that tug. That's how I know there's something inside of me that I have to bring to the world, because I am connecting with what I'm seeing before me. Your gift will make room for you. If you listen to it, if you receive it, do not allow your circumstances, do not allow what today looks like to keep you from what your tomorrow can be.
Awesome. Thank you. You all heard it from Miss Fears herself of the Fearless Movement. Your gift will make room for you. Embrace it. Be ready. If God is speaking to you, if your intuition is speaking to you, prepare for it. Expect it. So that when it happens, you are ready. So thank you, Queen Tina Fears.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it's been a pleasure to know you all of these years, to have met you and just continue to see you rise and grow. We are looking forward to supporting. So everybody follow tinafears on IG so that we can see her upcoming project, show her some love from this show. And Blessed Forever said, awesome interview. Thank you, Tina. NT says, thank you. I needed that.
Yay.
And then me too. Look, I'm about to check out this Raisin in the Sun casting. But I'm ready. And Tina has given me so many nuggets. So Tina, thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. And we'll see you next week for another edition of Model Talk Tuesdays.
Good night. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.